Hi everyone, Lar from Complete Test Success here, and today we're doing a Q&A. So pretty basic, pretty straightforward. If you have any questions about the IELTS test, just let me know and I'll answer them for you. Or if you have any problems that you don't know how to overcome, again, let me know and I'll be able to give you some advice and give you some tips and strategies on how to improve your weaknesses and how to overcome your issues. Okay, so if you have any questions or any problems, please go ahead. And while I'm waiting for questions to come through, let me just share my free live feedback lessons with you guys on Zoom. So these are my free lessons that I have on Zoom every week for my email subscribers. So if you click on the link there, you can sign up. So basically, they're very much like these live streams where every week we go through a different part of the IELTS test, and I offer support with whatever problems you're having. But also, we write essays together, we do practice speaking tests together, and I just give feedback and explain what your problems are. So if you would like to join those, please go ahead. Click the link. You'll find it in the comments here. You'll also find it in the video description. But for now, if anyone has any problems or any concerns or any questions that they want to talk about, please go ahead, let me know in the comments, and I'll be able to give you the support that you need. Okay, and numbers are a little bit lower than normal today for some reason. So if nobody has any questions, that's no problem, and we can just finish up a little bit earlier than normal. Hi, Nabin. Welcome to the lesson. Good to see you here. Hi, Facebook user from Zambia. Lovely. Welcome. Hi, Tang. Welcome to the lesson. Okay, so Nabin, Facebook user, Tang, any of the other viewers, if you have any questions, go ahead and I'll be able to give you some advice. Hi, Simran. Hi, Ramalia. Welcome back. Also, I need to finish up a little bit earlier than normal today. I have a lesson. So we'll run this for 45 minutes today. Normally we do about 60 minutes. Hey, Maribel, welcome. Hi, Abdul. So what about reading? What about reading, Abdul? So have you done practice tests? Have you figured out what your problems are? Do you know where things are going wrong? So if you can tell me more specifically what your problems are, I can give you advice. If you're just looking for general strategies and guidance on reading, I have a guide that I can share with you here. So if you're looking for just an overview of how to approach the reading test, you can click on that link there. But if you have a specific problem that you want to talk about, go ahead, let me know and I'll help you. Hi there, Simran. How to explain our task to idea? Please tell me. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that your idea is specific. if you end up choosing a vague idea, could be like something, if you're asked, what are the advantages of using credit cards instead of cash? And you say, well, it's more convenient. So if your idea is vague like that, you say it's more convenient. What happens then when you try to explain your ideas, you end up listing lots of specific ideas instead of actually explaining an idea. So the first thing to do is make sure your idea is specific. And after that, you need to explain it. So let's say, for example, you wanted to say, it's better to use credit cards instead of cash because it saves money. Maybe that's the advantage. So that's specific. You'll save money or you'll spend less money. Now, the explanation has to be about your main idea. So you can't go talking about something else. You can't talk about saving time. If you said you're going to discuss saving money, your explanation has to be about saving money. But also, it has to be in the context of the question. So if you said that the main advantage is that it saves money, you can't tell me, I don't need to know what does it mean? What does saving money mean? So don't explain what that means. Don't explain why saving money is a good thing. I don't need to know why it's a good thing to save money. Don't explain what people would do with the money they saved. I don't need you to explain that. What I need you to explain is in the context of the question. So how does using credit cards instead of money help you? Sorry, how does using credit cards instead of cash help you to save money? So when you're explaining your idea, it's how is your idea connected to the question? So make sure you're explaining your idea in the context of the question. So if your idea is vague, that will be a problem. If you talk about your idea instead of continuing to talk about your idea in the context of the question, that's a problem. But if you avoid those problems, you will give an appropriate explanation. So those are typically where people go wrong. That is typically where people go wrong. Hi, CC. You have 2 questions. I would like to ask, while we are learning a foreign language, at which stage should we start to use a dictionary that is in the language we are learning? I would say when you get to like pre-intermediate. So what's that in the SEFR levels? Intermediate is A2, maybe A2, B1, around A2 or B1. Because the thing is, when you're at the lower level, everything you're learning is a direct translation. So like the word for yellow and the word for yellow, the word for table, the word for table, generally direct translations will get you the exact meaning. But as you continue to improve, the meanings can become more abstract. The words that you're learning can become more abstract. Or also words aren't used in the exact same way. So like, the difference between the word learn and the word know, that might not be 2 words in your language. That might be 1 word. So if you're just using translations, you might not get the difference between the smaller differences between terms. But also I wouldn't recommend just learning vocabulary from a dictionary or a thesaurus. You should really be learning vocabulary from, reading texts. So using an English dictionary to help you understand, definitely, but not as the source, not as the place that you find the language you want to learn. Okay, so that's your first question. I'd say around pre-intermediate or intermediate. So B1 definitely, or perhaps lower. And the other question, when I'm practicing speaking on my own, I'm afraid of me making mistakes repetitively, which I have no awareness of. So should I stop between sentences and check whether I made mistakes? It depends on your goal. So what are you working on when you're practicing speaking? If you're trying to improve your fluency, well, then you completely disregard any mistakes that you're making for grammar or vocab or punctuation. Well, my brain is gone. Or pronunciation. So what's your focus here? If you're trying to improve your fluency, well, then it doesn't matter what mistakes you make. What you're trying to do is get yourself into a place where thinking of ideas and thinking of vocab, that it's all coming easily and that you don't need lots of time to stop and think. So if you're trying to improve your fluency, then definitely you don't want to stop. But the thing is then, if you're trying to improve your vocab, well, you should just be studying vocab. If you're trying to improve your grammar, or if you're trying to improve your pronunciation, you should be speaking really slowly. You should be speaking really slowly and working on one particular problem that you have. So you have to know what you're trying to improve first. If you're just trying to improve speaking, you're probably not going to make much progress. But if you're specifically focused on fluency or vocab or grammar or pronunciation, well, then you can understand what your goals are, and you can adapt your approach and your activities around the thing you're trying to improve. And you're very welcome. Hi there, welcome to the lesson. Hi Arif. Hey there, excuse me. Can we take admission in Australia on 5.5? I'm not really up. I'm not really familiar on requirements for different. It depends on your university. It depends on your job. It depends on the country. It depends on how old you are sometimes. So the answer is I don't know. Like, before any student joins my course, I will get them to find out what scores they need. I can't provide that information. I can help my students achieve the scores that they need, but you would need to talk to some kind of an agent, or contact the immigration board in the country where you want to go. You'd need to find out from an official source. So you shouldn't be finding that information out from an IELTS teacher. You shouldn't be finding that information out from a friend. Get it from somewhere official. Because if you come to me and say you need a 5.5, I help you get a 5.5, and then really you need a band 6.5, well, then you've just wasted time and money on an IELTS test. So yeah, you need to find out from an official source. It's important. Mirabel, my problem concerning reading is the time frame for the task. Well, what does it mean? That question, I'd need more information, really. So are you getting the scores that you need in the test? If you're not getting the scores you need, you should take as much time. You shouldn't be trying to do practice tests in 60 minutes. You should be taking more time to help you figure out what you need to do, what your areas of weakness are, figuring out the format of the test. Make sure you're analyzing your practice tests once you're finished. Try to understand what your mistakes are. Try to understand how to fix those mistakes. So at the moment, it sounds like you're doing practice tests under exam conditions, but really you should give yourself more time to get familiar with what you need to do. Give yourself time to improve the areas you need to improve. Once you're getting the score you need, then you start doing practice tests by doing it in exam conditions and trying to reduce how much time it takes. So if you're currently in the process of improving your scores, which it sounds like, I wouldn't worry about time at the moment. Try to improve your scores first, and then you can work on time later. Romalia, does band 7.5 mean a C1 level or less? There's a conversion table. Here, it's off the IELTS website. Here, let me share this with you. There we go. So this here is what the IELTS.org website shows. So US, does C5 mean, does 7.5 mean C1? So we hear C1 is, about 7.5 is about in the middle. So from a 7 to an 8 is C1. So yeah, 7.5 is pretty much in the middle of that there. Yeah. So the answer to your question is yes, that's true. Okay. here we go. Lost my place. Does writing structure matter for IELTS Task 2? And how many grammar errors are acceptable to get a band 7 to 8 in writing Task 2? Does the structure matter? Yes. The structure matters, but there are different acceptable structures. You know, like, so for example, if you're looking at it, discuss both views and give your own opinion, the structure that I suggest is a 3-paragraph structure. You might go to IELTS Liz or IELTS Simon, they'll suggest a 2-paragraph structure. They're also, we're all correct. 2 is fine, 3 is fine, as long as it's logical and it's well organized and you're developing your ideas. So it's not that IELTS is looking for a specific structure, but yes, structure is important. But there are more than one structures. There is more than one suitable structure. How many grammar errors? The way it goes with a band 8, not many at all. A band 7, you can still make quite a few mistakes, but the way it works for a band 7 is how many sentences don't have errors. So say, for example, if we have 2 sentences, the first one has 2 errors and the second one has no errors, that could be a band 7. Whereas with a band, but if you had the first sentence with 1 mistake and the second sentence with 1 mistake, that could be a band 6. So even though both of them have, in this scenario, the first 2 sentences has 2 mistakes and the second set has 2 mistakes, they don't get the same score. So for a band 7, it's about having sentences with no errors. So if your 2 mistakes is in the same sentence, that would be better than having 1 mistake in each sentence. I think I've done a terrible job of describing that. I'm still half asleep this morning. But yeah, it's not about the number of mistakes. It's about the number of sentences with no mistakes. So that's what the examiner is looking for. Okay. Simran, thank you, Lar. But my second question is that how to get reading vocabulary, also how to improve our speed in reading so I can do all my 40 questions in 60 minutes. So we were talking earlier on with Maribel about reading speed. Get your score up first. Don't worry about speed for now. The other part, you said reading vocabulary. So you're not trying to read vocabulary as, you're not trying to learn vocabulary for reading. There's not a reading vocabulary. You just need to improve your vocabulary in the same way you've studied vocabulary since you first started studying English. There's no reason for you to try and learn different vocab for the reading test. So like, just build on what you have. If you're currently here, continue building up and building up and building up. You know, it's not that you would learn special words for the reading test. You certainly shouldn't be learning words from reading tests. So if you did a reading test and there's some words you didn't understand, that's not a good source of vocabulary. You should be learning vocabulary more naturally and, you know, just reading normal texts and finding vocab that suits your current level, vocab that you're already familiar with, and making sure that you're learning the collocations correctly. So I wouldn't recommend learning vocabulary specifically for the reading test. Just continue to improve your vocab more organically. And then with the time, it seems like you just need to give yourself more time for now. And oftentimes, you know, if it's your vocabulary that's stopping you from getting the score that you need, that could be an indication that you should stop doing reading tests for now and just work on your vocabulary. So if you've been doing practice tests and pretty much all your answers are wrong because you don't know the vocab, well, then you need to study vocabulary. Once you improve your vocab, your reading scores will improve. So don't just continue doing practice tests. If you've already determined that your problem is your vocab isn't good enough, well, then you need to study vocab. Doing more practice tests is not going to help whatsoever. How can I connect to Zoom meeting? So in the video description, you'll find the link to sign up. And once you sign up there, you'll see all of the schedule. You'll see the schedule, all of the lessons, the times, the topics, and everything there. Mr. Mrs. Hello there. Welcome. Back in. My problem is spelling and writing. How can I improve that? So with spelling, the biggest challenge with spelling is trying to find the words that you spell incorrectly. So what you would do is, like use Microsoft Word or use Grammarly or use Google Docs, and they'll highlight all your spelling mistakes. Take them, make a list. Make sure you record all the words you're spelling incorrectly. And that's the most challenging part, is making that list. Because, there might be hundreds of words you're spelling incorrectly, but you don't know which ones they are. So it's trying to compile the list of words you need to learn is the problem. Actually learning the correct spelling, that's not as challenging. And it's just a matter of sitting down, taking your list and, putting in the effort. But finding the words is a challenge. So anytime you see a word you spelled incorrectly, make sure that you don't overlook it. Record that information so that you can address it. And then the second question, your writing. How can you improve your writing? Look, it could be one of 40 different things that you need to address. So for example, you said spelling is a mistake. So that would be one part of writing. But what other things are you doing wrong? Are your ideas irrelevant? Is your structure wrong? Are you not able to develop your ideas? Is it your vocab? Is it your grammar? Is it your use of cohesive devices? So, if you know you have a writing problem, that's only the beginning. What you need to do next is you need to figure out what specifically are you doing wrong. It's the same way, like when I'm giving feedback to my students, like the students on my course, they send me their writing, I give them feedback and I give it back to them. And it's basically, the feedback is, these things are wrong. These are the main things you should fix. So, if you don't know what your problems are, it's impossible to go about fixing them. You need to know what your problems are first. After that, you can address them. So yes, spelling, that's specific. You can address that. But writing, that's too broad a topic at the moment. So is it task 1? Is it task 2? What areas of task 1 are you doing incorrectly? So trying to be more specific with your problems will help you to address them. Hader, you're very welcome. Awesome. Hello, sir. My exam is 1 month later. Okay. My writing score is around 6.5. Can I improve by watching your explanations to 7.5? As long as you understand what to do, that's no problem. So like lots of students can follow my lessons and get the scores that they need. But what happens with other students is they know their ideas should be specific, but they don't know that their ideas are not specific. So they think they're doing it right. They're not doing it right. So, for some people, yeah, absolutely, they can do it by themselves. For other people, they need that support. They need me to show them, like, here, you use this idea, but that idea is vague. This is why it's vague. This is how you avoid repeating that mistake. So knowing what to do is one part, but doing it correctly is the next part. So yeah, by all means, it's very much, it's a possibility that you can do it by yourself. But the problem is you won't know if you're making any mistakes. I think as well, if you have the language ability already, if you already have the vocab and the grammar you need for a band 7.5, you're much more likely to be able to do it by yourself too. So yeah, it just depends. Some people can, some people can't. So it just kind of depends on your own ability to analyze your issues, your own ability to figure out what you're doing wrong and fixing those things. And if you can do that, then definitely you can. Ram Gopal, I have overall score of 6.5, but in reading it's 5. Can I get admission? I'm not sure what you mean by admission. Can you give me more information about that? I don't know what you mean by admission. Can you explain that for me, please? How to handle stress in the exam. This is the one question that I don't have a good answer for. You're going to be stressed. You're going to be stressed. So this is still the area where I would like to have a more definitive answer. I would love to be able to turn around and say, you just do this and the stress disappears, but that's not the case. I don't know how to do that. I get stressed when I'm in exams. I get stressed when I'm in job interviews. Like, you can do some breathing techniques that will help you focus a little bit, but it doesn't make your stress disappear. It just helps you to kind of focus a bit more on what you want to do. What I've been telling to a lot of my students, what I've been saying to a lot of my students recently is that what I've noticed, like some people, they get worried about being stressed. So they say to themselves, like, I hope I'm not stressed in the test. And then they get to the test and of course they're stressed. But then there's like, they're worried about being stressed. They were hoping that they wouldn't be stressed. So then they're stressed and they're worried that they're stressed and they think, oh no, now I'm stressed. That's going to affect my score. So it becomes stress and worry at the same time. So I think a lot of it is just trying to accept that you are going to be stressed, not telling yourself that you won't be stressed or trying not to be stressed, but just you're in a stressful situation. So allow yourself to feel that way. Don't put yourself under pressure to not be stressed, because it's not really realistic. So that's what I would say, is allow yourself to be stressed. Understand that people who score band 8 in the IELTS test, they were stressed as well. You can't wait for yourself not to be stressed. So just acknowledge, okay, it's not an enjoyable experience, but this is what's going to happen. I'm going to be stressed. I have to accept that. I have to do the best I can in that situation. Beyond that, I don't really have a good answer. I'd love to hear advice from somebody who can take themselves from being super stressed down to being completely calm. But I've done research online, I've talked to students, I've talked to other examiners, I've talked to teachers, and I have never once heard a good response. I've heard people say, don't be stressed, but I don't think that's helpful. It's not like you didn't think of that yourself. So unfortunately, I don't have a very helpful response to how to handle stress beyond acknowledge it and try to accept it. Maribel, you're very welcome. No problem. Awesome. I'm worried about computer delivered IELTS. What do you think? Reading and listening. It shouldn't make a difference. Granted, you can highlight in the paper-based, you can highlight the text, but you can still make notes. And if you're following my strategy, you're not going to be skimming and scanning. You're not going to be jumping all over the text. So, if you're just going paragraph by paragraph, there's less pressure on you to make notes. You'll generally just read the text, look at the questions, answer the ones you can, move on to the next paragraph and kind of continue that process. So if you're following that strategy of finding keywords, thinking of synonyms, skimming, scanning, all of that stuff, then making notes on the question sheet is helpful. But if you're following my strategy, it's less necessary. Shohel, hello there. Okay, Ram Gopal. You have a band 6.5, but in reading it's 5. Can you get admission to vocational courses on cooking? You will have to contact the people running the course and ask them. Like each university, they have their own requirements. They are the people who decide what score you need. So I'm sure you might find a course that does. Maybe there are some courses that don't. Maybe none of them don't. Maybe all of them do. I genuinely, I don't know. So just contact the people where you want to study, and they will definitely have the information for you. Mamadou, hi there. Most of the mistakes in my listening test are coming from plurals. Often I use the plural S where required and put the S where not necessary. I don't put it where I need it, and I do put it where I don't need it. How can I solve this problem? So why are you doing that is the question. Is it that you didn't hear it in the listening? So is it your listening? Is it that your grammar? Is it do you make plural mistakes when you're writing and when you're speaking? Try to identify exactly why you're doing that. So it might be that you need to improve your listening skills. It might be that you need to improve your grammar. Figure out which one it is and fix the problem. Don't do more listening tests until you fix the problem. If you're not taking action to resolve that problem, it will continue. So don't go doing more listening tests. Figure out exactly what you need to resolve the issue first. Do that, then do another listening test, and you should see higher scores after that. Thank you so much. Your free lessons are amazing. Oh, thank you. And you're welcome. Great. No problem. Awesome. Ram, sir, what can I expect IELTS One Skill in India? When? No idea. No idea. They've been talking about it. I know it's in Melbourne in Australia, and I had a student tell me that it's coming out very, very soon. I don't know where they got that information. I would wait until you hear it from IELTS. When IELTS are doing it, they will tell you. And the other thing is they're not going to introduce it for previous tests. You know, if they're doing it, they would have told you for the test that you've already done. So it's not that you can go and resit the reading part of the test you already did. When they introduce it, it will start from the introduction. It won't go back for tests that people have done in the past. So at the moment, if you're wondering, will you be able to resit just one skill? No, it will be whenever they bring it out, then it will apply. And there's a limited amount of time too. I think I have a student in Melbourne. I think she said was like, she had to decide within, I'm lying. I can't remember. It was like something like 15 days. It could have been 30 days. I genuinely don't remember, but there was definitely a time limit where she had to decide within that length of time. So even when it does come out, it's not going to be all that long. You know, there's a window in the same way, you know, you can't apply for an EOR after a certain amount of time, and the same thing will happen here. Okay. Seems like that's all the questions. Yep. So if you want to join me for my live feedback lesson tomorrow, use the link to sign up in the video description if you haven't already. If you're looking for one-on-one support, send me an email here. Having said that, I don't have a great deal of time left, so I could potentially take on 1 or 2 more students, but if you're interested, send me an email anyway. We can talk about that. I guess that's pretty much it for today. No more questions, so we'll leave it there. Talk to you tomorrow if you're joining me for the live feedback lesson. Talk to you next week if you're joining me for the live stream. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye, everybody, and best of luck.